Birmingham. My name is Aylin and I'm a patriotic activist from Germany, today representing the 120 decibel campaign that is raising awareness for imported sexual violence against women resulting from uncontrolled and illegal mass immigration. I met Toby Robinson for the first time a few weeks ago when he came to Germany to accompany our first action from the 120 decibel campaign. There was a big Me Too event in Berlin, right in front of our parliament, where lots of famous women, mostly actresses, journalists, politicians and other high society women gathered to talk about what they call sexual harassment. Unfortunately, this term is used very widely by women who feel regret over having consensually engaged in sexual actions, as well as for something as harmless as a compliment. So the rich and beautiful met in this huge and glamorous tent to lament over small things like saucy comments from their colleagues or the uneasy feeling after having agreed to do the casting in a hotel room. To be blamed, of course, old white heterosexual men and their supposedly predator behavior. After listening to a few speeches and hearing sentences over and over, like, we need to break the silence, we need to show solidarity with the victims of sexual harassment, the activists of 120 decibel, we wanted to show our solidarity and decided to remind the high society ladies that out there, there are real victims. Girls groped on their way to school, girls raped and murdered on their way home. Not by white old men, but by illegal immigrants. The other activist girls and I entered the stage silently with a banner saying, "The voice of the forgotten women," because unfortunately there has never been any big event for the victims of real sexual violence, especially not right in front of the parliament in Berlin. Recalling these poor girls probably struck a nerve, because the high society ladies immediately started to yell at us and call us Nazis. So they screamed Nazis out. Until then, I never had realized or even had the slightest idea that I could possibly be a Nazi, because probably I am not. While I was born in Germany, my parents come from Romania. My mother fled the communist regime when she was 20. My father met her years later and fell in love with her and with Germany. It's unclear with whom he fell in love first. I was raised with Germany as my home country and German as my mother tongue. Neither did I, not forgetting my ancestral roots. So there I stood, suddenly being called a Nazi. Why again? Because we dared to confront those #MeToo feminists with their own hypocrisy. It seems that progressive feminists have more of a problem with white men than they have with It seems that progressive feminists have more of a problem with white men who don't rape than they have with Muslim men who do. After they declined any discussion with us and expelled us from their event, exclusively dedicated to their pathetic self-pitying, we triggered our pocket alarms to break the silence finally. They are 120 decibel loud and are now available in every drugstore in Germany, right next to other daily items. Their purpose is to rout out any attackers and to attract the attention of other pedestrians. We called our campaign 120 decibel because, like this device, the hashtag 120 decibel was created to attract attention, in this case, to the immediate consequences of wrong immigration policy on girls and women. Our aim is to break the silence caused by political correctness and talk frankly about the lack of safety in public spaces for girls and women and their experiences with migrant violence. Opening the borders to mass immigration, not checking who is entering, and not deporting criminal migrants has immediate effects on our lives, on our security. Every victim is one too many. The people we have supported until now have sold us out. It is thanks to them that we can no longer afford to do nothing. We already silently learned to modify our behavior. and appearance to avoid being raped. Being told by the police not to go out alone at night, or being told we should not go jogging alone. We will not get accustomed to these constantly deteriorating conditions. The more illegal immigrants are coming in, the worse the situation will become. The no-go zones will certainly not vanish, they will grow. Even though politicians would rather sweep this topic under the carpet because it does not fit into their globalist agenda, we will draw attention to all the female victims of migrant violence and make sure they will not be forgotten. Spreading the 120 decibel hashtag is one important step to achieve these goals. It is necessary to create a possibility for women to express their fear and talk about their experiences. Because if we can't start talking about this now, the future will look very, very gloomy. I myself had a few very bad experiences. I don't have the time to talk about them all right now, but one thing that was very important for me was that at first, when this started to happen to me first, I was reacting the wrong way because I was afraid of being impolite or coming across as racist. So I stopping and getting into a conversation with these men that are trying to get into a conversation with you and then start groping you is totally the wrong sign. You need to trust your instinct, and if your instinct says you need to leave and just go and continue your way, do this, and don't care if somebody calls you racist or whatever. But scary things like these happen on a regular basis, and there's nearly no woman in Germany who hasn't encountered a situation that made her feel the fear creep up her spine. I should have trusted my instinct to ignore that man who was groping me and who was actually sexually harassing me. I should have trusted my instinct from the beginning. And it is important because the police is not protecting us. The law is not protecting us, as we have seen in the tragedies regarding Telford. But our instinct is, we need to teach our children to be cautious and wary, and don't let political correctness weaken their instinct. In Germany, it got so far that a girl who got raped by 3 immigrants and robbed afterwards felt severely guilty of inciting racial hatred because of reporting it to the police. Political correctness had her brainwashed so properly. The first time she went to the police station, she reported only the robbery and said that there weren't only immigrants but also Germans involved. The next day, she went to the police station once again to admit that she had lied before and to report that in truth there were no Germans involved, and besides being robbed, she actually got raped. She then told a journalist that she can't cope with her bad conscience, having revealed the truth to the police and the public. We need to stop.
Who's still on the wire?
Hello? We need to stop this monstrosity. Victims feeling guilty of inciting racial hate because of reporting their immigrant abusers to the police. Police and lawyers unwilling to take action because they are afraid of being called racist. See Telford, Rotherham, Newcastle. Calling someone a racist when criticizing a perverted belief system, as the Islam is utterly moronic. And if those Muslim grooming gangs have nothing to do with Islam, then why do their Islamic leaders, why don't they put out a fatwa in which they clearly say anyone who engages in these grooming gangs is kafir? Why don't they say everyone who engages in these grooming gangs is cast out of Islam? Why are they not talking about it? Why are they not denouncing it? Because Islam is a religion of peace. And because it's so peaceful, anyone who dares to criticize it is being silenced. The UK is turning into a hell of a totalitarian state right in front of our eyes. Lauren Southern got detained because under the Terrorism Act for committing blasphemy in the UK when she did a social experiment to see how people react if Allah is called gay. Brittany Pettibone got detained and banned because she wanted to interview Tommy Robinson. And Martin Sellner got detained and banned because he wanted to hold a speech at Speaker's Corner. All this while radical jihadists and former ISIS fighters are not only welcomed by the UK, but even offered housing. It can't be that criminals are being covered by political correctness while victims are left at the mercy of their tormentors. And the people who criticize it are being censored, threatened, shut down and banned. Women of England, women of Europe, we should now know our place. Our place is at the ballot box, defending ourselves from this invading rape culture, from men. From men who've been raised to believe that an unveiled or uncovered woman deserves to be assaulted and raped, who think this is perfectly normal behavior. Violent misogyny is not some minor aspect of Islam. It is central. If you care about your daughters and granddaughters, you have no excuse for not resisting it with everything you've got. How many sexual assaults and rapes are we going to tolerate before we finally decide that enough is enough? Dear Britons, be loud, raise your voice and break the silence because you still can. Thank you for your attention and God bless.